Hey team, I wanted to go over how to run faster without getting tired in a race. And the reason why I'm making this particular video is because I have been asked by a lot of athletes here on the channel in regards to they're having issues in their races. They're feeling sluggish. They're feeling like their training is going well, but when they get to the race, they have a very difficult time maintaining pace. And a lot of times athletes, like I said, can do a lot of things perfect in training and then get to the race and either psych themselves out. Sometimes it's psychological, but not always. And a lot of times it's also, as I've mentioned in other videos, is you have to also keep in mind that you have to look at the other angles that go into preparing for your races. Sometimes you're running low on iron or ferritin, and it has nothing to do with your motivation level. It has nothing to do with the way you race. Okay, sometimes you've done everything right in training, but you haven't paid attention to the other fundamentals that go into your racing success and training success. When we're out training in the heat or just training in general, you're losing so much electrolytes, you're losing iron in sweat. Keep in mind that taking a 65 milligram tablet of iron, in my opinion, with some orange juice with some vitamin C, that is a great way to ensure that you are not becoming iron deficient. Okay, so I think that this question of how to run faster without getting tired in a race, um, you know, sometimes it can be just that you are running low on something. It might be ferritin or iron, and in this case, you want to get a blood test. Okay, in terms of how many 65 milligram tablets of iron you want to take per week, I would, at least once per week, once or twice per week. That's usually what I did. I was diagnosed with anemia back in 2007 and had the same issues. My workouts were decent in training, but when I went to race, I just could not maintain the pace, and I was also having issues sustaining paces on the track. I might, the workout might have been 3 2-mile repetitions or 6 1-mile repetitions or repeat 800s on the track, and I just was having difficulties dealing with being able to sustain those paces that I was aiming at. And then it turns out Lisa Rainsberger, who coached me for about 3 years when I was with the Army World Class Athlete Program, she suggested to get a blood test. And it's crazy because out of all those years of high school running and college running, I was probably really running low on iron and never even knew it. So the question that I received recently from this athlete, his name is Isaac, he was asking, I've tended to race poorly. It's happened a few times over the past few races. Having issues, struggling with breathing, and just maintaining pace. So again, sometimes it can be psychological. Sometimes it could be physiological in terms of running low on something: potassium, magnesium, iron, ferritin. These are absolutely critical in terms of being able to sustain training and race efforts over a long period of time. So especially when it comes to being able to maintain pace in the race, you definitely, if it's not these things, sometimes it can be the fact that you're just being too aggressive and running far too fast in the early stages of your races. Okay, one of the big mistakes I made earlier in my career, especially when I was in high school, is I was trying to run times that I just did not have the capability to achieve. For me personally, I wanted to break the 4-minute mile when I was in high school. Okay, the fastest I could run for 1,600 meters was 4 minutes and 25 seconds. I also ran 4:02 for the 1,500 meter when I was in high school as well. But I didn't have that capability. I would go out 60 seconds to 61 seconds the first lap of my race. Looking back, I should have went out around 66, 67 seconds per lap, and I probably would have went sub 4:20 for the 1,600 meter. But you got to look at how you're training, and in the race itself, you also got to know that if you're going too fast and if you're training and you're in the race and you're going way too anaerobic too soon in the race, you're going to have a very difficult time being able to sustain your goal race for the entire duration of the race itself. So in order to how to run faster without getting tired in a race, One, you definitely have to train well in training. You want to make sure that you're doing what the best middle to long distance runners do. And about 35 to 40% of their weekly volume is spent running at or around their anaerobic threshold. So they're being able to make it look easy and sustain their goal pace for the entire duration of the race for a reason. They're running more of their weekly volume at a faster pace, and they're being more aggressive in training. Some of the world-class runners I've trained with over the years, they go out and they jog on their easy days. So I stress this with the athletes that I coach, the athletes that watch these videos. If you're running too fast during your easy days or too slow during your hard days, you're shooting yourself in the foot. You have to be smarter. You have to think about working smarter rather than harder. Think about leverage. Think about how is it that some people seem to get much better results by working less versus those that are working extremely hard and are getting much less results. Okay, so always be thinking about that in training, in terms of your racing and how to run a faster throughout the race without getting tired in the race. Watch your pacing, like I mentioned. Make sure you're hydrating well in the race itself, especially in these longer races. It's absolutely critical that you pay attention to hydration and start dropping water bottles out every 3 miles during your long runs. Okay, I did that every single weekend. It would be every 3 miles. I would first drive the course that I was doing my long runs on, and I would put some gels out during my long runs as well. So I practiced both hydrating as well as ingesting calories during my long runs. And then there were other times where I would just drink water throughout the long run. You don't want to do long runs and not take in any type of fluid or any type of calories. You want to get better at hydrating well and ingesting enough calories in your races, because again, you can have all the motivation in the world, and if you slack on these areas, you're going to have a difficult time performing at a high level on a consistent basis. Okay. You also got to know that the top distance runners, sprinters, long distance runners, middle distance runners, they have ups and downs too. So you do have to expect that you're going to have some challenges in your training. My advice is do not let up. Don't let some setbacks in training or a few bad races get the best of you. You're trying to do something that's extremely difficult. Okay, so it's not going to come easy. But then again, just remember, once you taper down, you start dropping your volume, start dropping your intensity, you follow a different type of strategy than that you followed in the past. If you do all of those things right, you start taking mental training as important. You start, really focusing on that just as much as you do on your physical training. If you combine those together and you drop down your volume, you do a 10-day taper instead of dropping your volume and intensity 3 to 4 weeks out from your main race, you are going to have a much better chance of having success in your races than having disappointments. And, as I think about Isaac, asking these questions about, sometimes he puts pressure on himself. Others have suggested I may put too much pressure on myself to perform well. That may be the case for this particular athlete, Isaac, but also a lot of athletes put pressure on themselves. But you got to also remember, look at athletes like Haile Gebrselassie of Ethiopia or Usain Bolt from Jamaica. These athletes are totally relaxed before their races. Sure, they might be a little bit nervous, but they know the importance of relaxation. So again, study. My advice to you in terms of how to run faster in a race without getting tired, in training, practice your relaxation, especially during running at faster paces. It's also very critical to spend a higher percentage of your weekly volume training at or below your anaerobic threshold. You want to teach the body to clear lactic acid faster than it's building up. So it's not going to happen when you're running easy and relaxed every single day. So sometimes the issues that a lot of athletes are facing is just that they're running too much of their weekly volume too easy. So start looking at your past training and start adjusting the amount of training you're running at or below your your tempo pace. You're at least running once per week at your VO2 max effort. So again, 95 to 100% of your maximum oxygen uptake, and making sure that you're jogging on those recovery days. Okay, you have to make sure that you're taking it easy during those days so that you can continue to adapt to the hard training that you're doing. So I hope this is helpful for you, Isaac. Feel free to leave me a comment below. If any of you have any other questions, I will definitely reach back out to you. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so when I make new videos, you'll be notified of it. If you want to know a little bit more about my background, feel free to go to the RunDreamAchieve.com website, or the links below, and click the About page. That'll give you a little bit of background of my racing and how I got started. But I'm here for you all, whether you're a beginner or an elite level athlete. And I hope this video is helpful, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.